Hello and welcome to the first edition of the CCA Podcast for 2010. My name is Jacques Landry, I'm the Chief Technical Officer, and today I'm going to walk you through kind of a tutorial about the carding criteria, the carding process, and everything related to the Sports Canada Athlete Assistance Program, which is carding basically. The reason I'm going through this is because we've gone through a process, about a 2-month process, of receiving applications from athletes, going through them, and eventually nominating these applications or nominating athletes to Sport Canada to eventually have them allocate cards to a certain cohort of athletes. It is a fairly complicated process, and I would say that a lot of athletes don't understand fully the process, and I would say some coaches and partners do not understand the process, as it is fairly complicated. So hopefully I'll be able to shed a bit of light on this carding criteria. The difference this year is that these criteria are sport specific. There's one for para, one for road, track, mountain bike, and BMX. And though they are sport specific, I would expect athletes that depending on their sport, read through this criteria from the start to the finish to make sure that no stones are left unturned. Alright, so what I've done here is to facilitate this tutorial process is I've pulled up from the CCA website the mountain bike sport specific criteria, and I've put it on page number 6. And before we go any further, I want to make it clear that there's a certain amount of cards that are given from Sport Canada to cycling, and for instance, there's 10 senior cards given to paracycling, and a total of 36 senior cards given to the other able-bodied cycling sports, whether it be mountain bike, BMX, road, or track. Now, with regards to para, those 10 cards are basically senior cards and could eventually be transformed into development cards. In the case of able-bodied cycling sports, these 36 cards, senior cards, are distributed in the following manner. So 23 of those 36 are maintained as senior cards, whereas the other remainder of senior cards are basically transformed into 19 development cards. And you can see if you go just above, you can see how these ratios are calculated. Now we cannot get any more cards than this. The Sport Canada basically goes through a process, and the next process they're going through will be after Vancouver to establish sports that should be getting more cards or sports that should be getting less. For now, we don't foresee a lot of changes after Vancouver. So as I said before, we are I guess stuck with the number of cards that Sport Canada gives us, and therefore we have to distribute them in a fairly thought out process. I must say that all these criteria have gone through all the cycling sport national coaches, and although each coach wants more cards for his or her cycling sport, all of the coaches have been part of this criteria process, as it was the case last year as well. Now, when we look at the prioritization, because what happens when we get into the application process, which normally starts around in October, is we receive a lot of applications from athletes, and we basically validate those applications or the results that are posted in those applications. And afterwards, in an internal matrix that we built up, we're able to mathematically prioritize one athlete over the other, basically one athlete's result over another athlete's result, which in turn will create a certain prioritization. Now the prioritization is fairly clear. Athletes having achieved or acquired senior international status come first, then it's automatic, then it's specific. Same with the development cards, international, automatic, and specific. Now, when we talk about international cards, the limitation again, what is basically Sport Canada's property is international criteria. In any case when you see international criteria, the criteria set out there is not our property. Sport Canada has established that, and it's basically based on Olympic game performances or World Championships performances in that specific sport. Where we can establish criteria is in the automatic and specific card criteria sections. Now, so prioritization, I spoke about that, and then depending on the cycling sport, there's another prioritization which is what you can see from steps 1 to 7. This is again putting a matrix on a spreadsheet, and we're able to establish the results of one athlete against another to establish prioritization in a very objective manner. Now, if I scroll back up, you will see that on the grid here, on the third column right here, third column, you will find that there's discretionary cards, and we adopted this discretionary measure in order to make sure that athletes that have reached performances and that we have targeted for performances in 2012 be potentially able to receive a card. Now, there is one condition, however, to be able to be in the discretionary card pool, and that is to actually have met a certain criteria, whether it be a senior automatic specific or international, or a D international automatic or specific card. These athletes are put in the pool, and this discretionary is basically it is once all the cards have been allocated on the either senior side or the development side. Once those cards are established, then the other athletes that have basically met criteria but have not been given or nominated for an objective card will fall into the discretionary card pool. How we determine who gets a card in the discretionary pool is basically based on the discretionary criteria, which can be found normally at the end of the document, and which encompasses basically 7 set criteria that the coaches and myself and validation after with the High Performance Committee will go through and rank, if you will, athletes on based on these 7 set of criteria. From that point on, we will establish who gets cards and who doesn't from the discretionary pool. So that is pretty much how the process goes. I would invite you to read very thoroughly this criteria, and as it's set out, there is it's fairly clear, and it's and is very objective. Even the I would say the discretionary card allocation is in a manner of speaking very objective as well. To finish off this little tutorial, I would just want to point out there's a few add-ons that some sports will be able to see, notably on the track and BMX sides, where we have put in another type of category in the development, in the D card category, which is basically junior, post-junior development card. So you'll see that there is that junior transitional, post-junior transitional category that is it basically is a D card, but that will open up a bit more the opportunities for track and BMX athletes, and actually women road athletes to get some, potentially get a card. The other new add-on I would say is that it's there's a team type events criteria, which is more applicable in track as it pertains to team sprint and team pursuit. So on that note, I would like to thank you for your time and invite you once again to go to the CCA website and read through the criteria thoroughly. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for another podcast in the very near future. Thank you.